In the history of YouTube drama, very few moments can claim to be industry-altering. But as of June 2025, the platform is witnessing one of the most significant legal escalations it's ever seen. One that not only threatens the reputations of multiple high-profile creators, but might mark the end of an era for reaction-based content altogether. At the center of this storm is Ethan Klein, controversial, outspoken, and for the first time in years, legally aggressive. But the targets of this lawsuit aren't anonymous nobodies or low-effort copycats. They're creators with massive audiences and established names. Creators like Hassan. And for once, Ethan isn't just calling someone out, he's dragging them to court. This is the full story behind one of the most dramatic lawsuits in YouTube history, why it might be the end for several top creators, and why, despite the backlash, Ethan Klein might be making the smartest move of his entire career. The legal action didn't come out of nowhere. It was a slow burn, one that had been simmering in the background for years. Ethan Klein, once a titan of commentary and reaction-style videos, had long expressed frustration with how the genre had evolved. While he was among the first to popularize transformative commentary, what he saw in the modern space barely resembled that standard. Streamers like Hassan, armed with massive Twitch followings and lucrative YouTube re-uploads, were now reacting to videos with minimal input, often sitting back, eating food, watching entire documentaries, and offering little more than the occasional chuckle. And for creators like Ethan, who spent weeks producing polished, edited content, this was theft, not just morally, but legally. So, in what felt like a landmark moment, Ethan Klein filed a lawsuit not only against Hassan, but also against a handful of mid-sized reaction creators, all of whom had re-uploaded or live reacted to his content with what he described as blatantly non-transformative, parasitic behavior. According to legal filings that surfaced publicly in early June, the lawsuit revolves around two core principles: copyright infringement and failure to comply with fair use guidelines. Ethan's team provided timestamps of multiple stream segments where his videos were played in full, with little to no added commentary. One instance in particular, where Hassan watched a full H3H3 segment during a subathon, became a smoking gun. Hassan's input across the 18-minute clip totaled under 90 seconds, and much of that was off topic.
And it worked even.
Yeah, except I didn't do any of those things, which I feel like is a major failure of a trap. He begged me to watch it for months. He cried on camera.
In court filings, Ethan's lawyers argued that this behavior constituted commercial exploitation of copyrighted material for profit with minimal modification. They also pointed out that these videos were not one-offs. In fact, they formed a significant chunk of the re-upload content on Hassan's second channel, which pulls in millions of views and ad revenue. This wasn't about commentary anymore, it was about monetization. As the lawsuit went public, social media exploded. Formerly Twitter, Reddit, YouTube comments, and Discord servers lit up with arguments, memes, and analysis. Some fans were outraged. One viral tweet read, "So Ethan Klein is suing people for reacting to his videos? This is insane. He fell off so hard he's suing his way back to relevance." But others came to Ethan's defense, pointing out that streamers had crossed a line. If your reaction to a 20-minute video is just sitting there in silence while you eat, that's not fair use. That's just freebooting. One Reddit user summed it up with brutal honesty. These Twitch guys got lazy. They treat content like it's background noise. Ethan just had the guts to actually call it out in court. Across platforms, a pattern began to emerge. While the majority of Hassan's fanbase stood by him, the broader creator community, especially among smaller YouTubers, started expressing support for Ethan. And that's because they'd been on the receiving end of this behavior for years. This lawsuit wasn't targeting one person, it was targeting a system. Over the past few years, YouTube has seen a surge in creators uploading reaction compilations or entire streams ripped directly from Twitch. In many cases, these re-uploads contained hours of uncut footage from creators like Hassan, XQC, and others watching third-party content without significant commentary. While some argued it was free exposure, the data often showed otherwise. The original videos would get tens of thousands of views. The reaction content, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions. In Ethan's words, during an H3TV segment, they take the whole video, barely say anything, and then make more money off it than the original creator. That's not fair use. That's exploitation. It was a point that resonated with countless smaller creators who'd watched their work get chewed up by the content machine. Hassan Piker didn't stay silent. During a stream following the lawsuit's public reveal, he addressed the situation bluntly. "This is ridiculous. I've always supported Ethan. I've reacted to his content the same way I react to everyone's. It's transformative. This is just clout chasing." But what made the situation worse was that Hassan and Ethan used to be allies, friends even. They'd collaborated on podcasts, exchanged public praise, and defended each other during past controversies. So, for many fans, this wasn't just a lawsuit, it was a betrayal. And yet, the argument started to fall apart as evidence mounted. Users began sharing clips showing just how passive some of the reactions were. One TikTok breakdown viewed over 1.2 million times showed a side-by-side comparison of Ethan's original video next to Hassan's reaction, where he said almost nothing for 11 uninterrupted minutes. The comments turned quickly. "I love Hassan, but this is damning. That's just stealing. If this is what gets sued, then good. Set the precedent." Hassan wasn't the only one named in the lawsuit. A handful of other mid-tier creators, most of whom operated reaction channels, were also listed. For them, the situation is even worse. Unlike Hassan, many don't have large legal teams, massive Twitch revenue, or a dedicated subscriber base. Several creators immediately took down hundreds of videos, fearing copyright strikes or worse, platform demonetization. And that's where the real damage begins. YouTube, in an effort to avoid being legally implicated, started flagging several of the videos mentioned in the case. Channels were demonetized, videos were removed, revenue streams dried up overnight. For many, it wasn't about whether Ethan would win the case in court. He was already winning by forcing platforms and creators to act out of fear. Legal commentary around the case began pouring in. Intellectual property lawyers were quick to point out that Ethan might actually have a strong case. Fair use isn't a blanket protection, and courts have ruled against reaction content in the past. One particularly damning quote came from a copyright attorney on a tech law podcast. "If you watch a video in full, barely pause, and provide minimal commentary, you're not transforming the content, you're replicating it." Another expert went further. "This case could redefine what reaction content looks like on YouTube. If Ethan wins, even partially, it will open the door for more lawsuits, more takedowns, and ultimately a shift in how creators interact with each other's work." To critics, this was Ethan being bitter, a fading creator lashing out. But the theory ignores a fundamental truth. Ethan Klein doesn't need the money, and if anything, this lawsuit puts him at enormous personal risk. So why do it? The answer is rooted in principle. For years, Ethan has watched reaction content slowly cannibalize YouTube. It started with harmless commentary, but over time, the genre became a lazy shortcut. And for creators who actually produce, write, and edit content, it felt like betrayal. Ethan isn't suing for clout, he's suing to draw a line. As one fan on X put it, "Say what you want about Ethan, but someone had to do this. Someone had to stop the leeching, and now it's happening." In terms of popularity, Ethan will take a hit. He's already seen unfollows, backlash, and public call-outs from former allies. But strategically, the lawsuit may be his most impactful move yet. If he wins, even partially, he sets a precedent that protects creators, especially smaller ones, from having their content farmed for passive income. He rewrites the norms of fair use on YouTube, and more importantly, he repositions himself not as a commentator, but as an industry advocate. Even if he loses, he sparked a long overdue conversation that YouTube can't ignore anymore. So is this the end for creators like Hassan? Maybe not immediately, but the message has been sent. The days of silent reaction streams might soon be over. And if this lawsuit succeeds, it will be because one creator finally decided enough was enough. Ethan Klein.